Good evening and welcome to the October 24th meeting of the Murfreesboro City School Board. We're certainly glad to have those of you in the audience with us, and we're glad to have those that are home that are watching on TV. At this time, I'm going to ask you to please stand. We have several students tonight who will lead us in our pledge, which will be followed by a moment of silence. Miller and Maddox Wilson, kindergarten, both are brothers from John Pittard. Kalia Grace Wilson, also a kindergarten student at John Pittard. Grant Ulay, a first grade student, along with his brother Grayson, a fourth grade student, and they're both at Hopgood. So we've got John Pittard and Hopgood tonight, and we're glad to have you folks.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now a moment of silence. Thank you. We're a little short on our board members tonight. Mr. Ballard, thank you. Wes has got COVID. He contacted over the weekend, I think, and Mr. Settles is on his way, but he's traveling from Nashville and traffic is heavy. But we will proceed on the best we can with what we got. All right, approval of the agenda. Board members, you've seen the agenda. It's been printed. You've had an opportunity to look at it. Do I have a motion to approve it as printed?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Any question or comment? And I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Ms. Trejo, communications.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
We have a lot of thank yous for me to go over tonight, so I'll go fairly quickly. Reeves Rogers would like to acknowledge and thank St. Mark's Woman-to-Woman Sunday School class for donation of school supplies, St. Mark's Church family for the donation of clothing, and St. Mark's Church Sunday School class for snacks for the teachers. Also, they'd like to thank Walmart for donations of school supplies. So Reeves Rogers is always blessed with such great support from our partners. Thank you to Jimmy John's for providing lunch for our bus drivers and maintenance team. Sometimes they get overlooked, so we appreciate Jimmy John's. Mitchell Nielsen would like to thank the Murfreesboro Airport for opening their doors and planes for a family field trip. It was a wonderful evening. We had over 140 people at that field trip, so that was really fun to see the parents and the kids together. You're invited to join Discovery School, More Trees Borough, and the City of Murfreesboro for a tree planting celebrating Arbor Day on Friday, November 3rd at 10 a.m. This is the first step in satisfying requirements for Murfreesboro to be designated as a tree city, and you should have a flyer on your desk in front of you as an invitation. Also, thousands of apples were crunched to celebrate National Farm to School Month. We appreciate our farmer educators and nutrition team for bringing farming to the classroom. It's always fun to do this Tennessee Crunch, and our kids really enjoy their apples. The City Schools Foundation, this is a big announcement, will be delivering over $100,000 in grants to our schools on November 1st. This will be the largest grant season that the City Schools Foundation has ever funded. Grants range from a couple of $100s to about $15,000. So stay tuned. We'll be giving you more details on that, but if you can join us on November 1st, we would love to have you. MTSU Education Day for 4th through 6th grade students is scheduled for November the 9th. You are welcome to join us on that day. So, Mr. Campbell, be ready. We're coming.
Bring them on. Let's have it.
November 9th at MTSU. And finally, the Foundation Tennis Tournament is this weekend. You are welcome to join us on Friday afternoon for a reception, or come by anytime on Saturday and watch our folks play, including Miss Barbara Long. So thank you for being a part of the tennis tournament. That is my communications.
Is that November 9th game a men's game or a women's game?
Women's game.
Okay. It was
It's,
men last year, right?
No, always women
Always
for
been
us.
women?
Always women
I thought
for
we
us.
had a men- Okay.
Yep,
Well, good.
and I think we're starting at 10:30 in the morning, so it's a little bit of a different start time for us, which is great. I think our schools are going to be able to get there and stay throughout the entire game. I've just blanked on who they're playing, but somebody. I can't remember. I can tell you what the logo looks like, but I just cannot remember who they're playing. But we'll be there, loud and loud.
You know, I think it's great, and you know, there are some folks that attend those games regularly, and the crowd is not nearly that loud.
No.
But my comment is, wouldn't you love to have this atmosphere at every home game? And oh yeah, we would. But you know, I'm glad to see the students get there. They
Yeah,
have a
absolutely.
good time, and I enjoy seeing them there.
Well, we can't thank our bus drivers and maintenance team, and everybody comes together for this particular education day, and we appreciate all the volunteers and actually just the Lady Raiders for hosting us.
Florida A&M, by the way.
Pardon me?
Florida A&M.
That's it, Florida A&M. It's a snake, right? Thank you so much. I could see that mascot. I just couldn't remember who it was. So Florida A&M. So if you're going to that game, it's going to be loud. Thank you.
Thank you.
As long as they bring forth a victory for them, that's fine. The best of MCS, Dr. Duke.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
We are excited tonight to recognize our October Best of MCS honoree and publicly thank her for the hard work and for the difference she is making in the lives of our students. And I am honored, truly honored, to ask Miss Kathy Brown from Reeves Rogers to join me at the podium tonight. Miss Brown is in her second year in MCS, where she teaches fourth grade at Reeves Rogers Elementary. Although she is still relatively new to our district, she is not new to education. She has taught for 19 years in multiple states, from Alabama to Texas to Illinois. But let me say we are blessed to have her here in Murfreesboro. During her tenure, she has taught several grades and has a long history of supporting students and schools through strong instruction, avid grant writing, and by providing extracurricular schooling experiences for our students. Ms. Brown brought these experiences with her to Reeves Rogers, and she has made quite an impact already. During her first year in Murfreesboro City, she wrote a grant for almost $10,000 and received resources to begin a robotics club for the 3rd through 5th graders at Reeves Rogers. She tutored students in math before school and modeled classroom management strategies for others using our CW Fit program. She was an integral part of the STEAM team that helped secure Reeves Rogers' STEM designation last year, and she was always found offering to do more than what her designated assignments were. Ms. Brown uses data consistently to guide her whole group and small group instruction. She comes to PLCs and RTI meetings with detailed information and data to help inform all those that are involved to help their students move to the next level. As we knew from our last meeting, Reeves Rogers was a level 5 school last week, no doubt due to the help also of Ms. Brown and all the teachers at Reeves Rogers. Her principal, Ms. Hardiman, told me that Kathy is an exceptional leader in the building who consistently goes above and beyond. Her colleagues will tell you she jumps in to get the job done. She is not a bystander. Her expectations for her students are very high, and she holds her students accountable for their learning. She creates an environment around her that is infectious with love and passion for teaching. Reeves Rogers, according to Ms. Hardiman, is a better place with her in it. Our district math coordinator, Molly Oliver, told me that Kathy Brown is the best of MCS because she has one non-negotiable professional practice, and that is to keep students at the center. She is a shining example of what it means to ensure that all students are engaged in meaningful mathematics and feel known, safe, challenged, and empowered. Ms. Brown, we are thrilled and blessed to have your talents, your enthusiasm, and your love for education in our school district. And we know, just like Ms. Hardiman said, we are a better district with you here. Perhaps, though, what exemplifies her attitude the best is a simple part of her email signature, which just reads, "Be greater." So on behalf of everyone in Murfreesboro City, let me thank you for representing the best of MCS and for challenging all of us every day to be greater. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. I'm honored to be here and teaching, and I enjoy being part of Murfreesboro City Schools. I do feel respected and appreciated, so this is great. Thank you so much.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Brown, we assume that you plan on retiring here.
Yes,
That's good.
I will not get certified in one more state.
Well, we're glad you saved the best for last.
Amen. Very misplaced in Illinois.
All right, spotlight on education, school improvement.
Yes, sir. Last month, for our Spotlight on Education, we recognized our 6 Level 5 TVOS schools. And as we mentioned, the rest of our state accountability is still embargoed as the state works to redo our accountability program. However, we know that when the time comes, we're going to have much more to celebrate. But for now, even though we want to celebrate the successes we have seen, we also want to make sure that we continue to keep our eyes on the future and plan for how we can continue to do great things. So one of the things we've implemented this year is a really specific goal-setting process in our schools, and I'm asking Mr. Rocha to highlight this. So again, not just that we celebrate our successes, but that we make sure we're planning to continue those successes. So Mr. Rocha?
Thank you, Dr. Duke. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm accompanied with Ms. Bell and Dr. Robinson behind me. They'll be joining me in just a few moments here. Tonight, I have some slides that are going to come up in just one moment that you'll be able to see. So as you know, as our Best of MCS teacher just shared, students are at the center of the core. And that is the same for us as well. So as we start to think about our work and how we think about those layers of support, we know that students are at the focus, and that's going to be part of what we talk about here a little bit. So as we know, moving to that core, we believe that we move to the core by being excellent learning for all students, excellent teaching in all of the classrooms, a central office system that is wired to the core, as Dr. Duke often talks about, and excellent principals as instructional leaders. And you'll hear just a moment from 2 incredible instructional leaders. We also know that highly focused people do not leave those options vague. They select their priorities and are comfortable with ignoring the rest. And if commitment is to nothing, they'll be distracted by everything. So we know that there's a lot to focus on a daily basis. They could have numerous things taking place, but keeping their eye on the ball is extremely important. And as an organization, as we think about our 5-year strategic plan, to our district goals, to our principal OKRs, to their site plans, those are all aligned in the same direction. One of the things we had talked about as a team is having those OKRs as superpowers, and one of the books that Dr. Duke had shared with us is Measure What Matters. And how we look at that is we focus and commit to those priorities. We have clarity and coherence. We align and connect that teamwork. We talk about that accountability and revisit that progress monitoring on an often cycle. And then stretching for amazingness. So doing that what we think is not possible and moving beyond it, but also really the idea of how we're going to move forward, I think is a really important part. So I'm going to have Ms. Bell go ahead and talk about her objectives here.
Sure. Good evening.
Good evening.
So at Hopgood, we want to be very intentional and focused. So we decided to focus on a particular grade level. And looking at this grade level, what we know, these students here in 5th grade, we're currently in 2nd grade, right before we really implemented our EL program with integrity. And so being very intentional there, our very first step into making sure that we increase our 5th grade proficiency and growth in ELA, we had the following steps to make sure that we are fully committed. So the very first one was making sure that our ELA instructional coach observed and meet with our 5th grade teachers weekly. That's on a weekly basis. The second one is making sure that administrator will attend all the 5th grade PLC meetings to make sure we can monitor the planning, and also making sure that we implement the curriculum with integrity. The third step we committed to was making sure that the academic coach and administration will conduct monthly learning walks. With those learning walks, we want to make sure that we use what we call an IPG, and that's an instructional practice guide, to make sure that we're always implementing those best practices as we go through the classrooms. Along with having the school-level academic coach, we also invite the district ELA coach, Dr. Presnell, to help us guide us in our work as we implement those best practices in the classroom using that IPG. So along the way, we have made sure that the classroom teachers are very familiar with that, make sure the instructional coaches in the building are familiar with that, as well as our assistant principal and myself, the principal. As the instructional leader, we're committed to that work. The next step, we want to ensure that our fifth grade teachers are focused with coherence of the lesson, making sure that we implement the lessons with integrity, making sure that we're doing all parts of the curriculum. So we're doing the all block piece. When we're having booths, we're making sure that we're very intentional with the materials and time on task, and making sure that we're monitoring the students' progress as we go along. And the very last step is providing additional planning time, because sometimes 45 minutes is not enough. So we want to make sure if we're having teachers, we're requiring them to do these things and to dig deeper, that we provide the time for teachers to be able to do this. So adding that additional time helps us to be intentional. I think I have covered it all, so that is our commitment.
So as our principals shared tonight, this is just one highlight of many of their goals, and they're looking at a laser-like focus. So the example they're giving you is just that one snapshot. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. Thank you, and good evening.
Good evening.
So our objective is to increase achievement and growth in ELA for students in grades 4 through 6. So our first one really is for fifth grade, which is an administration and the instructional coach will restructure the teachers and the teaching configurations in the fifth grade from triads to partners. So this simple change made it very easy for us not to lose instructional time when we have those transitions. It allows for more teachers to collaborate on ELA and to collaborate on math. So that was a simple change that we've already seen a big difference with. Teachers were provided with a schedule which included very specific subject blocks, instructional minutes, and boost time. That's something we needed to clean up just at John Pittard so that we were all on the same page as far as the scheduling was concerned. Number 3, administration will attend all ELA PLCs to monitor planning and curriculum integrity. This allows for clarity and continuity between administration, the academic coach, and the teachers. We also added an additional day for collaborative sessions. So this year with a new math curriculum, this allows us to have a day for ELA and a day for math. So we've been able to really do a deep dive in both of those curriculums, and we're already seeing success with that. And lastly, our instructional academic coach will meet with all first-year teachers once a week.
So as you can tell, there's a lot of thought and a lot of time that goes behind these goals that involve their admin teams, their office, their classified staff, and also their teachers and grade level leads as well. So as it starts with aligning to the 5-year strategic plan that you all help us formulate, it moves to the school site plan, and our principals really take that laser-like focus of looking at their OKRs from the snapshot that you saw today. So they certainly have more goals than that, but what you've heard tonight is just a single snapshot. So as we take those next steps, we will review, we'll monitor, we'll celebrate, we will refine. These are living, breathing documents. As we take those, and you'll hear the principals talk about them in their meetings, you'll hear at the central office that we will do the same. So it's that public acknowledgement and accountability that we hold ourselves to, and to celebrate and tweak and troubleshoot and really talk about how to refine. So that is our steps of OKRs. Are there any questions?
Questions? Ms. Dodd?
Okay, what is an OKR? I'm sorry, but I don't know.
I apologize. I skipped that first word. Objectives and key results.
Gotcha. Thank you. Was I the only one that didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
So that goes back to something we use the term so often. I think we probably forget that others don't. But I know Ms. Long has a question, if I may. I think one of the things that we really wanted to point out tonight is we have really taken an intentional focus this year on getting really specific on what are we trying to improve. And as we've talked about a lot with our principals and leadership team, is it's real easy to say we want to get better in this area. What we're really articulating and asked our principals to do was to say, okay, you want to get better in this area. how are you going to do it? What are you going to hold yourself committed to say, we're going to do these steps to see we have that improvement in place? And I commend both of our principals. They decide the action steps. They decide this is what we want to commit to. And of course, we're there to support them along the way. And in addition, it's not just every principal has these, but not just that. I have them for myself. Every member of senior leadership has them. So we're all working together around this common language around this is what we're going to do. These are the goals. This is what we're going to do this year to help get us there.
Ms. Long?
So if I can ask, how are the students responding at this point?
Well, I would say for our 5th grade, how the students are responding is they are not missing out on instructional time, so they're getting stronger in those areas because the teachers are close in, so they're moving quicker to where they need to be, so they can get in place, they can get to working on what they need to.
So there's not a lot of wasted time.
There's no wasted time there, which is very important because you don't realize how many minutes you start to lose and then that you have totally lost time. Yeah. So that is one way that I know our students are benefiting from just that simple change with that OKR.
That's great. Thank you.
Other question? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I would agree. More time on task is what we're seeing, and also the way the curriculums are built, it gives the opportunity for students to be able to talk more. And so having that release has really been enlightening for the students.
And I love the component where the first-year teachers are getting that support once a week. That's critical. That's great.
Question?
No, I have a comment.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Ms. Dodd.
I'm sorry, I have a comment. I just want to say, this all sounds great to me. It's just, if you're going to be successful, you have to lay something out instead of just, oh, well, let's go be successful. So that's what I like about it, is there's a plan.
Yeah.
And so it all sounds great.
And
It's
Mr.
wonderful.
Chairman, to piggyback off of that, it's not just a plan, right? It's a strategy, and from that, it's a tactic. It's what are you going to do? What's your leadership going to do that's specific to your site, specific to your students, and to see that come together with its own individual flair is absolutely incredible. Keep up the good work, y'all.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, he's Sue, huh? Okay, come to time in our program where we have time for public comment. Do we have anybody commenting tonight? Nobody?
Sir.
Okay. All right, consent items. Board members, you've had an opportunity to look over the consent items. We have a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. Any question or comment? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. All right, action items. Board Policy 1.500, Board Community Relations.
Yes, this is a new policy that we are bringing before the board for approval on first reading. Tennessee Code Annotated 49-2-301 requires the board to assign the director of schools specific duties and responsibilities to ensure that the districts operate efficiently and effectively. Policy 1.500 codifies the director's responsibilities relative to the promotion of the school district within the community and engagement of the community members and district stakeholders. The recommendation would be to approve the adoption of Policy 1.500, Board Community Relations, on first reading.
You've heard a review of the policy. Do we have a motion to accept Policy 1.500?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Any question or comment? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Board Policy 1.806, Advertising and Distribution of Materials.
This is also a new policy. We bring before the board a recommendation to approve the adoption of Policy 1.806, Advertising and Distribution of Materials in the Schools, on first reading. As you can imagine, as an active community pillar, Murfreesboro City Schools is often approached by community groups to promote and distribute advertising of activities to students, parents, and staff. Distribution of non-school materials creates a limited public forum for distribution of materials. To ensure uniformity in the distribution of non-school materials for the district, TSBA recommends that school districts adopt a specific board policy that governs the distribution of non-school related materials by community members to students, parents, and school staff. This policy 1.806 creates uniform standards for the distribution of non-school materials in our schools. The staff recommendation would be to approve the adoption of policy 1.806 on first reading.
We have a motion to approve policy 1.806.
So
First
moved.
reading.
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. Any question or comments? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Policy 3.200, Building and Grounds Management.
Changes to Board Policy 3.200 are presented to clarify that the written permission of the Director of Schools is required if alterations or changes are made to a school building or school premises. Our staff recommendation would be to approve the changes to Policy 3.200 on first reading.
We have a motion to approve policy 3.200, Building and Grounds Management.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any question or comment? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Policy 3.206, Community Use of School Facilities.
Changes to Policy 3.206 are being recommended to clarify that the Assistant Superintendent of Operations is responsible for the secondary approval for facility use when school is not in session. Congratulations, Mr. Barch. Recommended approval for changes to Policy 3.206 on first reading is the staff's recommendation.
We have a motion to approve policy 3.206, Community Use of School Facilities.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Any question or comment? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Policy 5.301, Emergency and Legal Leave on first reading.
Yes, we bring proposed changes to Policy 5.301 based on Tennessee Code Annotated 2-1-106, which guarantees specific rights to residents of the state to vote in elections and the allowance for time off of work to vote. The statutory language has been added to Policy 5.301. Additionally, changes are made to policy to remove the requirement that funds equal to the amount paid by the court are withheld from employees who get to serve on jury duty. The staff recommendation would be to approve changes to Policy 5.301 on first reading.
I have a motion to approve policy 5.301.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any question or comment? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Approval of ESSER 2.0 and ESSER 3.0.
Yes, sir. We are reporting to the board tonight and bringing to the board tonight the approval for the ESSER 2.0 and 3.0 applications that is required by the Tennessee Department of Education. This application outlines our use of all remaining COVID relief funds. The budgets and the actual amendments have already been presented and approved through our standard budget and board meeting process. This approval is required by law for our completed application, which was presented to the State Department after board approval, and we have now received state approval for. There have been no budgetary changes to ESSER 2.0 or 3.0 applications from what has been previously approved. And I do want to point out, because we've talked a lot about ESSER really since my first day on the job, but as a reminder that these funds are going away. ESSER 2 is officially gone. We have about 119,000 you'll see in your packet. We have to be liquidated by the end of this year, and then we have a little bit over $7.5 million that will be liquidated by December of next year. But this is the last fiscal year for those ESSER 3 dollars. So we are recommending approval of the plan as presented.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion to approve ESER 2.0 and ESER 3.0 carryover.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. Any question or comment? And I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Approval of the 2023 LEA compliance report.
School districts are required to comply with federal, state laws, as well as the State Board of Education rules. This is an annual compliance report that the Department of Education uses to ensure that local education laws and rules are faithfully executed. The Commissioner of Education is charged with taking corrective action when an LEA or school district is not compliant with those laws and rules and is not following department-approved, and to make sure they're following a department-approved compliance plan. Each school district is required to submit this report after board approval, and if applicable, has to submit a corresponding corrective action plan to the department by November 30th. We are recommending approval of this report, which indicates that Murfreesboro City Schools is in compliance with all federal and state education laws and State Board of Education rules, and that no corrective action plan is needed.
Do I have a motion to approve the 2023 LEA compliance report?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any question or comment? And I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Approval of contract systems integration cooperative agreement.
We are presenting a cooperative purchasing agreement with Bedford County Schools for the purchase and installation of security materials to the board for approval, as the cost of the goods and services will exceed the $50,000 threshold. State law does allow for school districts to engage in cooperative purchasing based on the same terms of the legal bid initiated by another school district in Tennessee. This cooperative purchasing agreement with Bedford County Schools allows Murfreesboro City to purchase the security materials and installation from Systems Integration, subject to the same terms and price as the contract awarded under the Bedford County bid. The estimated cost is $148,267, which is in line with the amount the board approved during the budget process, and we are recommending approval of the agreement as presented.
We have a motion to approve the contract.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Any questions? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Approval of contract solar response.
Similar to the previous motion, Ray County has granted permission to allow Murfreesboro City Schools to purchase security materials subject to the same terms and price as the contract awarded under the Ray County bid. The total cost of the contract will be determined by Solar Response based on specific metrics. The cost will be over the $50,000 threshold, but will stay within the board-approved line item cost assigned for security material during the board's budget process. And we are recommending approval as presented.
I have a motion to approve the contract with Solar Response Cooperative with Ray County.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Any question or comment? And I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Approval of contract with Bradley.
Pursuant to board policy, the board is required to approve intergovernmental agreements, and we are presenting a mutual use agreement between Bradley Academy and the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department for review and approval. This agreement will allow both parties to use the facilities, specifically Patterson Park, on the dates and times outlined in the agreement, subject to approval of each party's identified contact. And I might say we have always had a extremely strong relationship with Parks and Rec, specifically at Patterson Park for Bradley. So again, this just kind of puts that agreement in place to make sure that we continue to have that. And we're very thankful to Mr. Williams with the Parks Department and everyone at Patterson for that strong partnership.
Mm-hmm. Have a motion to approve the contract.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Any question or comment? Dr. Duke, have we always had a written agreement like this?
We have not had a written agreement in the past. It's just been kind of a mutual understanding. So we took this opportunity. Actually, Mr. Rocha started the process when he was at Bradley to actually put something in writing to say, hey, make sure that, again, it just continues and it's formalized and those kind of processes are in place so everyone knows how to request the needs, and they've been great, and it's been a really great process. I know, obviously, we use their theater for our drama performances over there. You've been to African American Night there. I know the staff last year used the swimming pool for one activity, which was for a STEAM project, which was great. So a lot of things going on. So this just formalizes that and puts that in writing so that we're good to go.
Okay. All right, you've had a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Approval of tenured teachers.
Well, I am thrilled to tell you that in your packet tonight, you're going to find a list of 33 certified educators who have met all the requirements to attain tenure under Tennessee state law and board policy here in Murfreesboro City. These employees have completed the required number of years within our school district and have attained an overall performance effectiveness level of above expectations or significantly above expectations for the last 2 consecutive years. So it is with great joy that I recommend approval to award tenure to these educators in your packet.
Is there a motion to approve the tenured teachers?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. I did have one teacher call me the other day and thank me, and I said, whoop, wait a minute, we haven't approved you yet. All right, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. It's always good to have tenured people and those that do a good job and stick around with you for a long time.
Absolutely, and we're so thrilled to recognize this. And now that you have formally approved them, I will tell you that we will invite all of them to the November board meeting so you can recognize them. And Ms. Johnson will have their official tenure letter that we'll present to them at that meeting. So thank you, and on behalf of the educators, I'll say thank you to the board. Even for the one that already thanked you once, we'll thank you now that it's official.
We have approval of the TISA accountability report.
As the board's aware, this year we are under a new state funding formula, which is called the TISA funding formula. The BEP funding formula is no longer in place. When the legislators put the TISA formula in place, they also put a new law that went into effect, which accompanied it. This law requires school districts to submit an annual funding accountability report to the Department of Education each year, and it must be turned in by November 1st. The report is mandated to include goals for student achievement and an explanation of how the district's stated goals can be met within the district's budget. Now, I am pleased to say this was a relatively easy task for us in the district because we have a strong 5-year plan that have stated goals that the board has already approved. Those are the same goals you'll see in our TISA accountability report. The only change to that is the law specifically calls out you have to have a goal directly related to 3rd grade. So we did add that goal in there, but it follows the same format and the same measurement as the goals the board has approved. So those goals are in there. Also, because our district has a strong yearly plan that is submitted to the state, we had very clear strategies already lined out, which we were able to incorporate in those plans. The main components of this plan are similar to what's in our yearly plan and our 5-year plan, which is really just a focus on high-quality instructional materials for every student to have access to, high-quality professional development for our teachers, support personnel for them to help train our teachers, and then making sure every student that is in need has access to daily interventions. We did also solicit stakeholder feedback. We sent this out to every teacher as well as every parent in the community. At the end of the report, you'll see a summary of some of those major themes of the feedback we received and how we incorporated that in the plan. And we are presenting this to the board tonight for approval so we can submit that to the state.
We have a motion to approve the TISA accountability report.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. Any questions? Ms. Moore?
Question. Obviously, I think these are great goals and great steps since we've already been over this with our own planning. But now there's, is there a penalty if we don't meet those? Because we have really good, kind of lofty every year gain growth goals. And so what happens if we don't meet the goals that we're submitting to the state?
That's a great question, and we do have really lofty goals, as we should. The one goal that was specified was the third grade goal, and that you have to show a pathway to get to 70% proficient. And that was, again, pretty simple for us. Not that it's going to be simple to do, but our goal was already for third through fifth was to get to 66% at the end of the 5 years. And third grade is tracking a little higher than our district average, so it was easy to move that to 70. The law does require for a commission to be formed that includes the department, the Commissioner of Education, as well as other members that are appointed by the General Assembly. And the law specifies, and again, I'm not sure if because it is a new law, if it's actually the implementation has been done, but it does say in the law that if a district does not meet the goals, that the commission can actually come in and make recommendations to the school district. That could include training on budgeting to meet student needs. So we do know it'll be reviewed. Again, what that actually looks like in practice, we're not sure yet because it hasn't been done. This is the first report any district is turning in, but it does call for the formation of that committee to review and to provide feedback to districts as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a motion to approve no, we're ready for the revenue and expenditure report, right?
I think we need a vote on, we had a motion, I think we do need a
Did I
vote.
let her talk before we had a motion?
Oh, we did? I'm sorry.
No, we had a motion. We
We had a
just need
motion,
to
I'm
vote.
sorry. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. Revenue and expenditure report.
Bless you.
There she is. Afraid she wasn't gonna be with us tonight.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Have a good trip.
Yes.
Welcome back.
I was hanging out in the back with the cool kids, so. So before you tonight, we have the documents that you're familiar with. We have the total income and the total revenue received over actual expenditures, and you can see we're just under $4 million less in revenue than we are in expenditures. Part of that is ESSER 3 was approved, and until it was approved, those large expenditures were coming out of the general purpose fund. Now that ESSER 3 has been approved, our federal bookkeeper is going to start reimbursing the general purpose fund. So we're going to see a big change, aren't we, Beth? So about $1 million. So the other part of this big picture is the revenue side. And I do want to spend just a little bit extra time on the revenue this month. This was the property taxes, the local dollars, big ticket items are the county shared property taxes, our sales tax. And we are seeing two things that we have talked about before, and now we're actually seeing it. So we're seeing it presented on the financial statements. So the big property taxes, the current property taxes for the county, we won't start receiving the large dollars until November, December, January, February. That's when we'll see a huge increase. If the trend stays consistent with this month, we're going to start seeing considerable decrease in our property taxes. Two things. The first thing is the county shifted pennies off of the educational portion of the shared county property taxes, and our weighted average of students for the year did decrease slightly. But those two things, the biggest impact is definitely the shifts on the downward shift and change of the pennies on the property tax. The other local dollars that we watch very carefully is the local portion of the sales tax. So for the month of September, what we have reported for the month of September is actually the July sales tax. So we get sales tax 2 months behind. So the last weekend in July was the sales tax-free weekend for clothing, just a lot of things. So we haven't seen yet the impact of the sales tax-free weekend on groceries. That will come later. The way the state calculates that, they look at, now this is just a very simple explanation, but they do look at holding the districts. We're not supposed to be losing any sales tax dollars. It comes out of the state fund. And what we're seeing is just what everyone else is seeing on sales tax. It's flat. So we have pretty much maintained the dollars, total dollars, where we were September a year ago. However, we don't have those big increases that we saw last year and the year before. So the property tax, 2 years ago, we saw a total 7% increase month to month compared to this time 2 years ago. 7% increase compared to an 8% decrease. So we're going to start feeling the impact of those pennies moved off of property tax for the second year in a row. And the sales tax is what we've heard is that it's flat. We budgeted local dollars pretty flat. And I think the predictions are actually on the sales tax are actually what we're seeing in the receipts and the revenues that are shared with Murfreesboro City Schools. So those are our two big dollars. Now, on the good side, we've got this on the state revenue, the TISA funds that the report that you just approved, and we had a considerable increase in our TISA funds over the BEP. So if you're looking at your revenue report on, it's line 6 under TISA, and you're comparing dollars for dollars, you're actually comparing TISA funding to the old BEP formula. So that's a huge increase. So total dollars, because of that increase in the state TISA funds, that has helped us considerably with total dollars. We continue to receive the City of Murfreesboro's monthly allocation that has been consistent over the last 2019. I believe the last increase was with Salem. So we continue to get that. That is steady, it is consistent, and it is predictable, and it is appreciated. So that is probably about 9-10% of our budget for the city allocation. So what we continue to watch is the most unpredictable part of this is the local dollars, the county property taxes and the sales tax. We'll continue to watch that, and my fondest desire and hope is that with the holidays coming up, we'll see an increase in the sales tax.
If I can add, and I do want, and I asked Kim to really kind of point that out, because I think it's a message I want to make sure we understand now. And I say that because I've gone back and look, I do believe this may be the first financial report since I've been in this position where our monthly revenues have not exceeded the month prior year. Mm-hmm. And so that to me is something we need to be really aware. We're only looking about a $10,000 difference when you think about 1.9 million, but at the same time, that's still flat when historically we are used to seeing kind of a noticeable increase over the previous year's month. So I think Kim's pointed out the first year with the loss of the pennies off the property tax, we felt it a little bit. Now we're really beginning to feel it. That combined with the flat sales tax is something we're paying a whole lot of attention to, and we will continue to pay a whole lot of attention to as we begin to think about budget. So we're very thankful for that additional TISA money, but it really helped us kind of stay where we were versus a windfall per se. No, we do enjoy it, and we're very thankful for that, and we appreciate the legislators' approval of that for sure. But it just a real transparent piece of what we're paying attention to with our finances right now.
Yes, thank you.
You ready for questions?
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's my understanding that the county commission just raised taxes here in Rutherford County. Is that right?
The property taxes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and the way that it's calculated on the tax roll, the snapshot in time, last spring, and because of the shift in pennies on the education portion, that's where we're seeing that even though property taxes are valued higher and there are more residences and businesses on the tax roll, it's that shrinking penny. So, and the small decrease in the percentage of the ADA, the students, compared to Murfreesboro City compared to. So even though, yes, in total it's the shift, that shrinking of the penny that is really impacted.
Mm-hmm. So we're all paying more in taxes, but Murfreesboro City Schools are getting less dollars.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. I'm so sorry you had to say that out loud.
All of that is based on the number of students we have in the city schools in relationship to the total number throughout the counties. Am I correct?
That is correct, and it is a state calculation, and it's a weighted average calculation, so it is a state calculation, and it's certified annually. And so and we did this a couple of years ago, our numbers looked low. And it was during COVID, and it was the way certain things were reported, and we went back, Ms. Tyra in the attendance department went back and looked at the reporting and how students were reported, and our numbers came up. So it makes a difference what's done on a daily basis, the review and at the school level, so that the students really are tied to, especially with TISA, are tied to the dollars.
So we're getting the same percentage, except the pool that we're drawing from have been reduced because they have moved these pennies from the area that we draw from into another area so they don't have to pay us that.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, the shareable, what has to be shared with the city.
So what can be done about that?
So again, that's a county commission decision that their funding body, when they approve the budget and they have approved how the property tax is, looking at that. So there's not really anything this board can do to change that. Again, that's made at the county commission level. I just want to make sure we continue to make sure that our board understands that the very real impact this is now having on our budget. Yeah. So again, understanding that anytime they move money off that education, there is an impact that bleeds over into our system as well.
Yeah.
So then, to summarize what you said, 7 cents they took from this fund where we were getting from and moved to somewhere else.
Right.
Then there was an 8 cent decrease in something else. So basically, it's 15 cents turnaround.
15%, yes.
Yeah, 15%. That's more than 15 cents.
Relatively short period of time. When I look back over the last few years and look at the trend prior to the shifting of the pennies, those dollars were pretty consistent. I believe this was a question Mr. Richardson asked 6 months ago, maybe. And to look at the trend over time, and it was pretty consistent. It was consistent, it was predictable, it was budgetable with county property tax and sales tax. So, and then COVID hit, and we had a big spike, in the sales tax especially. And then the last 2 years, the impact of moving the money has, this is when we are really seeing it this year. So.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You may not be able to answer it, but maybe one of the county commissioners is here. What was the reason Well, you would know this. What was the reason that they started moving these pennies? Does anybody know?
I don't want to speak for the commission. I know obviously as we talk about budgets are about making tough decisions, and I don't know the exact reason. I don't want to speak for them as well. I think again, I think our intent is just to make sure the board is well aware of the impact this is having. I was in a meeting with Mr. Barch today as we were looking at some things and already begin to think about if this trend continues, what does that mean for us come January when we start budget? And how do we approach the budgeting in a way to continue to make sure we're really prioritizing what I feel like our board's done a really good job of, which is making sure getting the resources to where those resources are needed.
So that's not a question that we could probably answer.
That's, yeah, like I said, I don't want to speak for
You
anyone.
can call your county commissioners.
County commissioners would know.
Well, that's what I wanted to say to address Ms. Long's question. I think what we can do is what we're doing right now, which is to continue having this conversation so our many viewers know that they're educated that these decisions that are made at the local level, which I think a lot of people just don't pay attention to, really affect things locally. And for all of us to have communication, all of you to have communication with your county commissioners, try to get an understanding of this. It's a really wonky issue. It's really detailed, but it's important. I think, I've talked with county commissioners, I think may not have fully understood really what the impact was. And so I think that's part of what we can do is have that conversation with constituents so they talk to commissioners, we talk to commissioners, just so they understand this is not just some moving dollars on paper. It really matters for our students in the city.
Well, I would hope they had some kind of understanding before they cast a vote.
I mean, a budget's huge,
I know it's huge, but they ought to have.
Well, I think so, and I think that's part of what we can do.
Well, I did.
is
I reached
educate
out
them.
to some commissioners as well to tell them about the impact when this happened the last time, and how it's going to affect city schools because children that attend city schools are also in the county. So myself, anybody else that lives in the city, we also pay county taxes, correct?
Yep.
So they don't split it when it goes down to the county and say, well, city schools, county. But even though I live in Murfreesboro City, I pay county taxes, just like anybody that lives in Smyrna or Laverne or other places like that. So it is important. And I think, Amanda, you're right on target. The only way we do anything different is to say something to our commissioners, so this is what we'll do.
Do you have any idea if you take the total school population in Rutherford County, counting Murfreesboro City, what percentage of those students are Murfreesboro City School students?
14.67.
14.67.
I think is the current number. Is that correct?
Used to be about 17, Anyway. Okay.
6th grade.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say we enjoyed your report, but thank you. Facts are facts, right?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we need to.
Let's see.
I think we need to.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do need a vote on that, on the financials, please.
Sir,
We do need a vote of approval on the financials.
we have a motion to approve the financial?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Long. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any question, comment, on the opposition? I see none, okay. We're rolling. I guess we're now ready for enrollment.
Good evening. I'm back.
Yeah, we're glad to have you back.
Before I begin, I just want to acknowledge our Leadership Rutherford candidates that are here, our class of 2024. They're in the back as part of their civic individual projects, participating in a city or county school board meeting, and they chose the city school. So thank you for coming tonight.
They made a good choice.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Cheap entertainment.
Thanks for coming.
So tonight,
It's always good to be associated with the best.
And humble.
And we're glad to have you too, Mr. Ken.
thank you, Mr. Campbell. Appreciate that. Tonight, you were looking at period 2. As you know, this is a 20-day snapshot from September 2nd to October October 10th. What you have before you on the slides here is a summary of the multiple pages of the very little print. So what I'm trying to help you with is just some of those snapshots. Average daily attendance is 95.5%. That is down 0.07 from the first period. So we anticipate some of those drops a little bit. Our truancy numbers are there. I'm not going to go over each number, but what I am going to share is that those numbers look stronger than last year. We are taking steps. For truancy, for example, we are starting our diversion meetings. So those are proactive measures where we're starting with families. Started last week. Next week, we're having another batch as well. Principals are having conversations. Again, these are proactive measures that are trying to help families remove barriers so they can help their children get to school. We know that when children are here, they have an opportunity to learn. And when they don't, they're missing those opportunities in the classroom to collaborate and share their gifts and talents with us. Our enrollment is up by 40 students. Our chronically absentee rate, I kind of think of that as a golf score. Starts higher, kind of decreases as we go, and that number is decreasing a little bit there as well. There's been a little minor changes of PTR, but not too many. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on the attendance report?
That's a great decrease from last year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It's a great decrease from last year's chronic absenteeism percentage. That's a really big drop to compare year to year.
So what does the intervention look like, for example, with the 4 that is in one particular school of truancy? What does the intervention look like?
So I think it's important to talk about the tiers. So the first tier is reaching out. The teacher reaches out to the student. They have that personal relationship and rapport, talking about, we're happy to see you, we want you to be here, we want to talk with the family and see what there's there. When you get to the 5th day, there's a letter that goes to the principal typically calls, there's a contract, and there's an opportunity to talk in person. I think it's really an opportunity, and I really want to stress that word because it's not a punishment, it's not a consequence. A lot of our families feel that way. You're here to get me in trouble. And really, it's the opposite. We want to hear what their story is. We want to see if we can offer solutions and provide many of the resources that you all help us with on a daily basis, whether it's social workers, whether it's transportation, whether it's funding, whether, the list goes on and on and on. So those are those opportunities. We outline expectations. A letter goes from Dr. Duke about day 6 or day 7. When we get to that unexcused of 10 days, we reach out. Depending on the circumstances, there are some exceptions. But typically that's a meeting with myself, Ms. Bush. We are working to have a panel that's included, so typically the principal, the counselor, the social worker, and again, just reiterating, what are the supports that we can help you with? Let's make sure that we understand what you're going through. In some cases, it's a matter of if they're working 2nd or 3rd shift, they don't have an opportunity to have someone there at home. So it's a matter of making a connection of how can we help their children get to school. Yeah. So in some cases, we've had a neighbor, we've had a family member, we've had another classmate take them to school as well. So that's just one of the many examples of the magic that takes place every day.
Yeah, I appreciate the compassion of being able to walk the families through some tough times. Yeah.
And I think one of the things I might add that I really appreciate, and Joe, Mr. Marlin did a great job, and Ken has picked up, and you mentioned the compassion. At the end of the day, I think all of our parents want their children in schools, right? And if they're not there consistently, there's most likely a barrier there. And so Mr. Rocha and his team have done a really good job of helping to frame that narrative about how do we help you with what you need so we can get in school. Again, obviously after that last meeting, we are looking at, do we need to look at working with our juvenile justice system to make sure that our students are where they need to be. But we don't want to go there until we have done everything we can to help that family be successful.
And I appreciate our juvenile justice system has the same mindset. In conversations with their team and the DA assistants, they've also said this is about diversion, it's about support. It's not a consequence. We want to make sure that we're helping break a cycle, we're providing support and helping families get their kids to school.
That's great. Thank you.
And again, the other thing I might want to add, because I have several principals back there who do a great job, and Ms. Moore commented on the decrease in numbers. And I think a lot of times we hear, well, chronic absenteeism is a parent issue. That's something that really is about parents have to do better. And in a large part, they are largely responsible. But I do say that we as schools are not, we do have a part to play as well. And we can, as schools, do something. We are not just hands raised, we can't do anything if your child isn't absent. And I think these numbers show that, and it's because we have principals who are extremely dedicated to doing everything they can to get students to school as well. So when he talked about the letters, the meetings, the incentives, our principals are focused on it. And because of the strategies they're putting in place, it's really emphasizing the importance to parents. And as our numbers are showing, parents are responding and students are responding.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we need to approve that report?
No, sir.
We have a motion to approve the enrollment report.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not needed. No, sir. I apologize.
I still approve of it.
I didn't see
Mighty fine.
Personnel report.
You have a copy of the personnel report in your packet, and we're happy to address any questions you may have.
Any questions?
I have a question.
All right, sir.
How are we doing on bus drivers?
Mr. Barch?
Mr. Barch, I presume. Because I see we got
While you're
some
walking up there, I want to compliment you
Uh-oh.
on the way you handled all this stuff that went on out by the hospital today and the
Thank you.
bomb scare that they had.
Yeah, well,
I know you had a whole lot to do with handling of schools and keeping them open and closing them and alerts and all that, and you're to be commended for it.
well, thank you. I have a fantastic team, and everyone knows how important a team is, so thank you for that, though.
Good training. Let's hope you don't ever use it again.
That's right, but it was everybody that worked. I was just a communicator. But to answer your question, Mr. Settles, we are trying to continue to shake those trees and turn those rocks over and finding people. And we do have some people in the pipeline, some to be trained as drivers. We have pretty good success. It's kind of like a farm team as our aides. And some of the aides work for a while, and then they figure out as a bus aide, and they want to be a driver. So we get a pretty good number that come from that, and a pretty good number this day and age is two or three.
Yeah.
So the other thing that we're struggling with is that when we get some people in, then we lose some. So every once in a while, it's that 2 steps forward, 3 steps back thing. But there's a little light at the end of the tunnel, and we've got some strategies we're working on that I think we're going to be okay. We're going to keep our head above water. Okay. But I wish I could say we're going to fix it, but it is national.
Yeah.
It's national.
Yeah. So for anybody that may be watching or listening or tuning in later, how many hours do our bus drivers work?
Typically, a general ed bus driver is going to be 7 hours a day.
7 hours a day?
Yes, sir. Morning and the afternoon, and then they can also pick up some field trips or things like that during the middle of the day. A special ed driver gets an hour or so more in a given day.
Okay. And it's listed on our website, like to apply and all that stuff, is it?
Yes, sir. And we're working on the application process where it's a little bit easier to understand and see for just about every position. Sometimes it looks a little clinical and technical, and we're streamlining that so it's easier to find information. And we're also hitting it with Lisa Trail and Tori are helping me out and helping our team out with we're going to be looking at our other staff members. Substitute drivers are a big need as well.
Okay. Because sometimes when teachers retire, they're just bored and looking for something to do. I'm just putting it out there. And they may decide, why don't I drive a school bus? Even if I just do it every now and then, get out of the house, meet some lovely people, things like that. My dad retired from working for Sears over 40 years, and he stayed home maybe a year or two and went back to work as a bus driver, and he is 77. He's still driving. He does not want to quit. He just loves it that much. So I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting a plug,
I was going to say, maybe
No, he's maybe when he retires from Metro, he'll come down here and drive from Murfreesboro.
Well, yes, sir. Yeah, thank you for the plug.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
We're gonna find them.
Sure.
And we're, hopefully we can fix some things and working with other districts and troubleshooting and collaborating.
And I know there's free candy at central office if you go see Lisa Trail. That's, I mean, Lisa
Van Cleve.
Van Cleve.
There you go.
Yeah, she's got candy. So just put, I mean, anything to get them in here.
That's right. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Dodd?
Okay. Yeah, you don't get to sit down yet, right? I was just wanting to know, do we have any open teaching positions right now?
Ms. Johnson, teaching positions?
We have currently interim positions open. We actually just posted a special education position today due to growth. But those are all we have right now.
Okay, that
So
sounds
for the
good.
TV audience, a special education teacher was just posted today.
Yeah.
And some interim, we always have interim positions that we need, always. That's,
Yes.
we can always line
Go to the
those
website,
folks up.
right?
Yes.
So how did our staggering thing do the other day? I know that's not an ideal situation. On Friday. How did
It was fantastic.
How did that work out?
Very, very proud of our team. What they did and the plan that they came up with was, again, less than ideal.
Yeah.
But how we pulled that off, I was really proud. It's like, when you sit back and, you love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
That was one of those afternoons and mornings.
And not ideal, but necessary. I appreciate the parents
That's what, yes, thank
really
you.
stepping it up.
Yes, we had, and it was better because we had a lot of parental help on that situation as well. Actually, significant parental help in that situation.
Yeah, thank you.
If I might add, we did work hard, and I'll give some kudos to Ms. Trail out there to make sure that as soon as Mr. Barch realized we were going to need to do this, Ms. Trail and her team started that communication really early to give parents that notice the night before. And our goal is to continue to do that. And I'm afraid there may be sometimes it's a last minute thing we have to do, but to the greatest extent possible. Mr. Barch keeps a really tight line of communication with Mr. Rome, so when we feel something may be coming, we start moving those wheels just in case.
That's great. Thank you.
Ms. Bush?
Yeah, I did drive on Friday, yes, I was there.
Wondered about that.
I have a question that came in.
And I love bus driving.
No.
It is, okay.
Just ask Lauren if we have a legal challenge to the tax pullback funds, that pullback from city funds.
Not just off the top of my head, I don't think that we do. I can work with Adam Tucker to see if he knows anything that there's maybe might apply. But off the top of my head, no. I mean, the county commission, it is their budget. It is a difficult decision to make, but it is their budget, and they can determine how much to allocate in a given. And I can't think of anything just off the top of my head, no.
And how about milk carton shortage?
Actually, we're doing okay right now with that. I mean, we're still kind of 2 weeks out, but Miss Shealy gives me a report pretty regularly, so I think she said we're good for about the next 2 weeks with those milk cartons, and so hopefully we'll stay good to go. As someone who drank a lot of chocolate milk in elementary school, we're all hoping for it. I know skim milk is something she's looking into, which doesn't have the full flavor of good old 2%, but we'll take it.
Ms. Dodd?
So what is the plan? Say we can't get any more cartons. What's the plan?
She is working on a couple of things. First is moving to skim milk, which she's gotten an approval to be able to use skim milk.
So we can get cartons for skim milk, but not.
There is my last conversation with Sandy is yes, there is a supply of skim milk. The regulations call for that 2%, which is what we have. So she's gotten an appeal for the skim milk piece of that. And I can have her send an update tomorrow to the board as well as where we are with that. The other thing she's looking at is the shelf-stable milk, which is also, she's already got quoted out and priced out for that as well.
Are we ready for the director's update?
Yes, sir. Just a few updates for the board tonight. First of all, wanted to point out that we've had a lot of conversations about accountability and this very slow rollout. There has been a state accountability group specifically looking at the letter grade system for schools. They've been meeting over the last month really to finalize what this new system looks like. I have not seen what it looks like. We do expect it to come out very soon. And again, our understanding is once that new system rolls out, they will retroactively apply it to last year's scores. One of the things we want to make sure that we'll make sure is that we are able to at least inform the board what it would have been under the old system and then what the new system is as well. I do want to say a special thank you to Kim Inglis, who is our instructional coach at Black Fox. She serves on that committee and has just done a tremendous job of not only representing us, but being in contact with me, being in contact with Dr. George and others in our system to say, let's make sure we are all, she is not just giving her opinion, but really saying as a district what would work great. So I want to say a special thank you to Kim. Anytime our teachers are represented and our voice is represented at the state level, it's really important. The other thing I wanted to just update the board on is, again, we talked about before, we are in the second year of the third grade promotion law. We actually held our first family event about 2 weeks ago with our new group of third graders who this law applies for. We had a really great turnout of parents to help explain the law, where we are and what they can do, always going back to the fact that, you know, we were able to promote over 99% of our third graders, and our intention is to do that again this year. So we will work with families to find that promotion pathway for them. So we did have that first meeting, really well attended. The second piece of that is we also held a meeting for our fourth grade parents, because last year we talked a lot about third grade. There is one line in that law that says for those students in third grade who are promoted to fourth grade on a specific pathway, that they must show adequate growth in fourth grade to be promoted to fifth grade. Right. So we're taking more of a really laser-like approach with those families, giving communications just to those families. We held a Zoom meeting for them to kind of walk through the process. Unfortunately, right now, there's a lot we just don't know. The state has not defined what adequate growth is. We expect that to go to the state board in November, and we will then, of course, work with our fourth grade parents on that as well. One of the things that is a little different with the fourth grade piece of the law compared to the third grade is with that third grade law, there was an appeal process. There were multiple pathways to get them to fourth. For the fourth grade, currently in law, there is not a pathway outside of showing progress on the TCAP once they define what adequate growth is. And there is also not an appeal process. And so that's something, again, we're very aware of. I do expect that as different groups begin to think about legislative priorities moving into the next General Assembly, that might be something you see is, do we need to revisit with our legislators that for these families, fourth grade, that there needs to be, again, an appeal process in place, because currently there's not. So it is much more stringent than the third grade law was. So again, our job, keep families informed every step of the way, early and often. So we've had the first meeting. We'll do it again in January. We'll do it again in May. But I wanted to flag that for you because we talked so much about third grade. Want to make sure we're aware that there is that fourth grade component of it. And last, Lisa said it, I'll echo again, man, how thankful are we for the City Schools Foundation. $100,000 in grants to our teachers next week. Truly unbelievable. And it's because of events like the tennis tournament they're doing this weekend. And so we're just incredibly grateful, and we are looking forward to next Wednesday to giving out some money. So
and
those are all my updates.
And you said there was one grant of $15,000? Did I understand that right?
There is a very large, yes, there's multiple large grants that went up in the summer.
Okay. It's wonderful. All right, Mr. Suttles, we're glad you made it through the traffic.
Yes, glad to be here.
And we hope that Mr. Ballard feels better soon.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Any other thing coming before this board tonight?
No, sir.
Can't think of a thing.
Otherwise, we have a motion to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
We're gone.